All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Coffee Q&A. I'm Jay, your host. We are here at the Coffee Q&A, your daily dose of Coffee Q&A here on the OnoCoffee channel. Most every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you have questions or comments, drop them in the comments over here. Or if you're watching the replay later, thanks for tuning in, and you can comment down below and all that kind of thing. So what's going on? How's it going? Today, I thought we would talk about something a little bit different, especially now that the price of coffee has skyrocketed. If you're not following the way that coffee is traded in the world is on something called the C market, the commodities exchange. And this is for commodity grade coffee, not necessarily specialty coffee, although specialty coffee's prices are informed by the C market. And yesterday, the C market coffee, which is traded in New York City, and it's a future-based system. So basically, they're trading futures, and it reached $4 a pound. For the very first time in history, it is unprecedented how expensive coffee is. And so as coffee, and this is for commercial grade coffee. So the kind of like low grade coffee that's way worse than you like to deal with. It's not the worst in the world, but it's pretty low, right? It's kind of this baseline, and then everything else is above or below that. And it never has been $4 ever. The highest I remember getting was something in the threes of maybe 15 years ago, but never $4. And recently it was even below $1. And within the pandemic era, it was with under $1. But things have exacerbated this, and that's part of it is climate change, where as the general temperature of the world rise, that moves production higher onto the mountain. And as you know, the farther up the mountain you go, the less land there is, right? Because it's a mountain, right? So if you have down here, you got plenty of land. If you're up here, you don't have as much. And the higher it goes, the longer it takes to produce. So there's a lot of things coming into play that are causing these issues. Kent, what's going on, man? How are you? Anton says, hi, just finished making my coffee just in time. Excellent. Mom is with us. Rusty, oh, good. How are you, man? I see that school is out for you if you're joining us. Charles is with us today from warm, sunny Baltimore. Oh, I love that. Isn't it great outside? I woke up today and I thought it was going to snow, but at least it's just sleet. But strange enough, like out here in Baltimore, it's like rainy, cold, icy, everything. My car is covered. The trees are covered in ice. But oddly enough, the pavement is not ice, which is good. But they've canceled school for everyone out here. Maku says hello. Naomi says hello. And Peter is calling in. What's going on, Peter? So this price of coffee has skyrocketed. So whenever the price goes up, it pushes everything else kind of in line with it. Now, in the world of specialty, we're always paying a lot more than the C market, right? So when the C was like at 75 cents a pound, we're still paying $3.50 or whatever it is. Now the base price has risen, the price of the specialty, if you're buying specialty coffee from brokers or from importers, that price is moving commensurate. So let's say if you could have bought a coffee just a couple months ago for $3 a pound, now it's $5.50 a pound. So it's pretty dramatic. Like it's to the point where it's that some of the coffees were pretty protected for the moment because we bought them at a time when, we bought them at a price, and that was the price that we bought, and that's what the price we had to pay. And so that was just where we are on that. But the stuff that we have to get now, let's say some of the different componentry coffees, like that price has doubled, well, tripled. It's almost over the last, even within the last few months. And so it's considerably more expensive. And naturally, as a business, as a business who is trying to be conscious of our clients, we try to buffer that, right? Try not to raise prices. Like if you go to Chick-fil-A, like I used to go to Chick-fil-A a lot, right? I used to go to Chick-fil-A every morning before going to work. And you would notice with Chick-fil-A a creep throughout the year. 2 cents here, 5 cents there, just a little bit. So by the end of the year, you've got this increase of maybe 15%. We don't operate like that. So now we're also to the point where we have to make a jump, and the jump is kind of considerable. So it's like, but it can't be helped. Otherwise, we're just not even. I don't even know if we would not even be breaking even based on the pricing that we had before. So it's a difficult proposition. Naomi says, am I going to have to quit coffee? I mean, yeah, I mean, coffee is going to go up. And this is true for all spectrums of coffee, right? It's not just specialty coffee is going to be expensive, but everything that you're buying at the store, you buy is going to be expensive or more expensive than it has been recently because of this. Now, like I said, a lot of it has to do with climate change. A lot of it has to do, well, climate change not only is the temperature of the world rising, which means that we're losing arable land and we're losing, whatever, but also this climate change is causing strange weather conditions, which is impacting the ability of these areas to produce coffee. So from a variety of factors, the production is reducing while worldwide demand has been increasing. So people have been really interested in getting Chinese people to drink tea in China because, there's a billion people there. If we can get more of these people to switch from tea to coffee, it'll be great. Well, yeah, that's kind of working. The problem is now if you try to get let's say you get 500 million people to drink coffee additionally twice a day, there's a billion cups of coffee a day. And now you've increased it by another billion, but now the availability of coffee is dropping, so that's going to push the coffee prices higher. So now we've gone through periods in the past where the coffee has risen. We had a period where we were at $3 a pound for the C market, and that went back down. It went back down dramatically, down to 75 cents. So ostensibly, it could slide back again because this is a commodity market and it's controlled by, even like larger factions that are buying and selling coffee as a financial making vehicle. So Busa says snow coming next week. Oh, great. Glad I didn't put my snowblower away. Anton says the the Brewers are great so far. Excellent. Glad to hear it. And Anton says, I think for us, money is out of the window already. Oh, no doubt. Will tariff make the cost of coffee worse? Absolutely. Tariffs will always increase the cost of coffee. So we've got skyrocketing prices with regards to the C market. Now when you and so the United States produces pretty much no coffee. I mean, we do. Like there's little pockets in Florida and little pockets in California. And there's, a decent size operation in Hawaii. But, Hawaii coffee without any of this is already $28 to $60 a pound. Nobody wants to pay that for their daily cup. Right? So we don't really produce anything in-house. Now, we have had a system where the United States, because it's not a producer of coffee per se, where we've had unrestricted trade of coffee. So throughout the years, importing coffee to the United States has been a relatively easy proposition because, it's not a protected crop. Like if you're importing canola or if you're importing like soybeans, I think there's tariffs on that our government places on that for importation because we produce so much of it, right? We produce enough. We don't really need that. In other countries, let's say like Mexico and all the producing countries, most of the producing countries in the world, they don't really allow importation of green coffee to their lands because they have an industry to protect. They don't want to introduce pests and diseases to their crops as well. And the same thing goes for the United States. We have the same kind of policies. Like they want you, if you're traveling around the world and you go to farms and you're wearing your boots, you need to report that to the Department of Ag upon entry into the United States so that they can inspect and scrub your boots. So that does exist. Now, with this new administration who's talking about, that guy's talking, who knows what he's talking about, but basically no one knows really what he's talking about. And he talks about in such general terms that it's just blanket. Like, yeah, we're going to put tariffs on Mexico. Okay, well, that's good. So everything from Mexico now has a tariff, right? So that will mean that any coffee produced in Mexico will have a tariff and probably pretty much anything. And so by putting that tariff on Mexican coffee, increasing the cost, the brokers in turn are going to increase the cost to me, which forces me to increase the cost to everyone else. And this will also cause more panic in the C market to push the price up, which then once the C market rises, then it's no longer limited to just Mexico. It's also now coffee worldwide. So any coffee will now have an increase, which not just affects the United States, it affects people worldwide because the worldwide trade of coffee is based on the C market. So, seems that we have an administration that prefers chaos over consistency. Naomi says, are we saying that we need to buy up your coffee? You should buy it now. Always good to buy it now. Anton says, Mexico has some great coffees. Cafe makers trade many from Mexico makes beautiful coffees. And one of the nice things about, and here's the interesting thing, like a lot of places like Mexico and all these other places and coffees from certain areas do not have organic certifications, right? But they are organically processed. They are basically organic coffees. They just don't have the money-making vehicle attached to them, right? Like if you look back in the United States with organic, back in the 60s, when these like hippy-dippy kind of guys were trying to push for organic production in the United States, the USDA was totally against it. Like they were like, no, that is just not allowed. We're not going to allow that. But as these guys kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and promoting and promoting and pushing, and big agriculture started to get involved. They started to say, oh, there's some traction in the consumer world. Let's go and maybe explore that. Suddenly, with big ag and their money and their influence in government, now that USDA started to be like, okay, we're going to allow organic production of foods to enter the mainstream food supply, but now we're going to have certifications, and you're going to have to do all this to certify it and to catalog it and to say that it's true. And this whole chain of controls and record keeping in order to be certified organic. And the interesting thing is that, small farmers, of course, now they put this huge burden on them, one that a big ag company can easily cover with their tremendous resources. And they also have molded in a way so that, like, let's say that this here is your plot of land, right? Now, if you're a big ag and you want to do, so one aspect of production of organic food is that it cannot be it has to be pesticide free, right? So let's say this is your whole field of production, and let's say that you have this plot of land in the middle of your field of production, and this is what you want to. We're gonna grow organic crops in here, so we can't spray, we can't use fertilizer. So we're gonna plant our organic crops in here. We're gonna do all the tracing and do the traceability. But all of this is also similar crop, but it's not organic. And we can spray all of this pesticide and fertilize all of this around it while still maintaining organic certification for this. So a lot of your production comes that way, from large scale ag, which is kind of like the whole free range thing with like chickens. Like if you go to a free range chicken place, you see this big ag and they're like free range chickens. What that really means is that the chickens have, maybe they have a little more space in their coop, and the chickens have a doorway from the coop to a little outside plot that if they so choose, they may go out into that plot to wander around. So they have devised ways to, while still maintaining large scale production. Right? If you ever go to a chicken farm where they're actually doing true free-range chickens, like they have to move the chicken pens around the meadow, around the field, because the chickens, as they're eating all of the worms and everything, bugs and all of that, they need to move to fresher areas throughout it. But with big ag, they can't do that. Maybe they've got ostensibly millions of hundreds of thousands of chickens in one area. You can't have the space for that. So there's a lot of interesting things that happen in ag that, and I don't even know how we got on that, but Oh, but yeah, back to Mexico. So in Mexico, the producers there, they don't have these kind of resources. A lot of them are poor. A lot of them are campesino type workers that can't really afford to do all of these things. So they just make coffee in the way they've made for generations, using natural processes. They don't really have the money for fertilizer. They're not spraying anything, right? They got to do it all by hand. So a lot of Mexican production is actually very organic, but because of the way that we've structured laws in this world that require traceability and certification for organic coffees, they can't say it's organic. And they're also prevented from getting a premium on that coffee for the methodology that they're using, despite them using, good methodology. Anton says, but coffee prices were already predicted to rise very high months ago. Yeah, I mean, they've always been predicted to rise because of the way that the climate change has been affecting the world. Like I'm saying, so let's say specialty coffee. Specialty coffee really thrives between 1,000 to 1,000, let's say 1,000 meters above sea level and up on a mountain, right? So you've got this mountain here, and here's the line. Like you could produce like 800-900 meters. That's not a big deal. But let's say just 1,000, right? And let's say your mountain is like 3,000 meters high. As global warming happens and the ideal range for quality coffee, rises because the temperature is rising. So therefore you have to go further up the mountain. Like you're getting less and less space. You can only go to 3,000 feet, right? There's only 3,000 meters that's available. So you only got 2,000 meters. So the more you go, the less land there is. So the less land there is, the less production you can have. And the higher that you go in the mountain, because it's cooler and less oxygen, less air, the air is thinner, production takes longer. Now the quality theoretically should be better, right? The lower air quality, the density, the lower air leads to greater density of coffee because it's a slower growth, right? It's a slower maturation. So, but we're talking about going from like one crop a year. The farther up you go, it may take longer than a year to produce. I don't know. I mean, probably not. But typically, like places like in Panama and stuff where they're growing all coffee already at 2,700 meters, they're still getting one crop a year. But we've seen the effects of this climate change, like especially in Colombia is a great place because Colombia used to have two separate harvests, right? There was a harvest it's the big harvest. I can't remember if the big harvest was in June and the minor harvest was in November, or the big harvest was November. I think it was November was the big harvest because everybody else is having big harvest from then. And then the smaller harvest was in June. So the producers would plan to have, okay, we'll have a big harvest here, we have a small harvest here. Now with climate change and the changing and everything warming up, it's no longer that defined. The harvest, coffee is coming to ripen throughout the year. So now it's costing more to produce that coffee for the farm because it's not like they have to hire on a bunch of farm hands during two production seasons. Now they have to keep an amount of farm hands to harvest coffee throughout the year. So the cost of production goes up. Now, cost of production and cost of coffee are not necessarily correlated in most of the world because there's the C market. And the C market, if the C market says 75 cents, it doesn't matter if it costs you $1.50. You're only going to get 75 cents, right? So there's that issue as well. Peter says Brazil had bad coffee production seasons pushing. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Brazil's production is way down this year. And they're basically, Brazil and Vietnam are the two largest coffee producing countries in the world. Like they produce a significant, I don't know if they produce most, but they produce a significant portion of the world's coffee supply. So if you start having Brazil having difficulty with production while demand is going higher, that's where we are now. I mean, that's why we have such high prices. Anton says getting organic certification is often too much hassle and not worth it. They know we coffee nerds don't care about that anyways. We know our coffee is treated well. I mean, but that's but you got to remember, especially what we're doing, especially is very narrow, right? Like it's a very small part of the industry overall. And here's the thing. So like, and specialty is also filled with a bunch of fuckers, right? And so what I mean by that is that, you've got all these buyers that are out there, and all these roasters and people, and they love to talk. They love to say, oh yeah, we love the farmers. We want to help the farmers. We want the farmers to get more. We think the farmers should get paid more. Who are the people bitching the most right now? Are those people. Right now that the price, because they're always like, oh, price of coffee is too low. Price of coffee should be higher. Now that coffee price is higher, oh, who's upset the most? These same people, right? The ones that are like talking all the talk about caring for the farmers. Like, let's go back to these campesino farmers, right? These campesino farmers. I was on a trip in Guerrero, Mexico, many years ago, about 10 years ago now. And I was with a group of buyers who were trying to find a way to forge a relationship with this group of producers in Guerrero. And we were there, and it's a really, really interesting project to work with. And and now you're talking about a whole group of roasters and green buyers that are, we're from all over the country, all in specialty, different agendas, different interests, different needs, right? And then this group of producers on this mountain are also they form like a kind of a worker cooperative, right? But not really cooperative, just kind of a working group, what they call a grupo de trabajo, which means a working group. So they just they're not a cooperative per se, but they're more like they're just trying to help each other out. But even within this group of producers, there's a disparity between the producers. There's a couple producers that are, in terms of everyone else, they're fairly well to do. A couple of them may have a dry mill, right? Their own dry mill they can control. So they're better off than the other guys that are like, basically, the guy and his family. Like this one guy has almost no resources. He's got a little plot of land on the mountain, and he doesn't have drying beds. He doesn't have raised beds. He doesn't have patios. All he has are these volcanic rock outcroppings that are not covered with grass. And he has to sit there and, put the coffee after he's pulped it in these like little rock outcroppings and rake it by hand. And because it's volcanic rock and we're pretty high up, or maybe like, I don't know, we're probably like 2,000 meters, 1,800 meters. The sun is like, pretty heavy up there on sunny days. So instead of raking once an hour, like you would on a patio, because now we're on this black volcanic rock, he's got to rake it like every half an hour. And you're like, oh my God, this is crazy, all day long. And so a lot of them have, they don't have not all of them have the same resources in terms of education, in terms of financials, in terms of any of that. They all, like I said, they're disparate. Some of them don't have it. And, you've got these buyers that want to buy nice. Everybody wants to find the next Hacienda Esmeralda, right? The next coffee that's going to launch them into like the stratosphere and, bring them glory in the coffee world. Everybody wants it. I want that, right? I would love to have that. But so and plus you want nice quality coffee. Everyone talks about, I'm willing to spend money on coffee. But there's always a but. And that but is always, I'll spend more money with you, but I need to have a certain quality level, right? We're not worried about necessarily cost of production. We're worried about how much can we get for the score, right? So let's say these coffees that they're producing generally are 81, 82 coffees. Fairly good coffees, nicely done coffees, And the whole situation for them, let me look here. Peter says organic has too much pest and low yield. Okay, and China Yunnan province is cutting tea trees down to grow coffee because of slap. See, this is probably the worst time for everyone to start moving into coffee again. So, like these guys in Mexico, right? They don't have a lot of resources to them, so they're producing coffee. They grow the tree. They produce. They grow. They cultivate the trees, and then when it comes to ripening, they pick the tree. They pick the fruit. Some of it they will process themselves or try to process themselves, but a really small percentage, because a lot of the coffee cherries that they're growing, they're going to sell to the coyotes, and the coyotes are these guys who come up to the mountains in big trucks, and they buy the cherries from the farmer on the spot. Now they're giving a lower price for the cherry than they could if they took it down the mountain and sold it, or if they processed itself and sold and then made it green. They're getting way less, but they're getting it now. They're getting it right here, right now, cash money in hand, so that this farmer can feed his children tomorrow, which is a big issue, right? When you're living moment to moment, you're gonna have money, right? You want to have cash, right? You can get cash now. So you've got these buyers that come in and they're like, okay, so we'll taste the coffee, like, okay, it's pretty good. It's 81, 82, that's good. But we're not gonna pay you $3 for that coffee because it's only 81, 82. That's rubbish, right? For that price. We'll give you a premium, 25 cents, 50 cents a pound premium, whatever it is, but only if you make it to 85. If you give us 85 quality coffee, we'll do that. Now this producer's thinking, oh, 85, if I get 85 points, or if I can get 25 cents more per pound on green if I process it. But that processing that they don't necessarily do because they're selling to coyotes will take a lot of work over the next 2 months for them to finish. And the caveat is that the buyer's like, but I'm only going to pay that if it's 85. If you deliver 82 coffee, I'll still pay the base price, but I'm not giving you the premium. There's no guarantee this producer can produce that, especially when they haven't had experience doing it. They may not necessarily know how they're doing it. That's a big issue. And so a lot of them would be like, the buying group found a lot of difficulty with our group because of things like that. Because, they need help. They, of course, see us as the buyers to be the way to go, which we may or may not be. But, I think that as a green buyer, if you have to be cognizant of what's going on in the world around you in order to make an effective impact. And I just don't think a lot of people in this business don't. All they're looking for is that 90 plus coffee that can, make them a name and make them the darlings of whoever. I don't know who, but whoever. I know there's a lot of names being tossed out there. They're all darlings. I don't know why, but so that's kind of where we are in the world at the moment. Emma says that the longest standing treaty in the world is the Anglo-Portuguese Treaty of 1373. Brexit. You did mention Brazil. Yes. So so that's kind of where we are. We're going where we're getting hit with higher prices. Prices will almost certainly continue to rise. There's no real. It doesn't seem there's anything in sight to reduce the cost. So we'll see. Like yesterday, $4. I was like, oh, we're in trouble. So that's why we're going to talk about this coffee here. This is a little bit, in case you're like getting a pinch of coffee, let's explore some alternative coffees that may be more budget friendly for all of us. And these are coffees, and I have this coffee here. I don't even remember where I got it from, but it says coffee, so it must be coffee. I'm presuming I got this at a hotel, and I'm presuming that I got it at a hotel in probably Africa, somewhere along my way, and it's fully sealed. I got 2 of them. Like I'll pick these up when I'm traveling because I think it's going to be interesting to explore just to see what they're like. Let me just turn on some flame here to get our water going here. So now let's have a look. We're going to open this one. Now this is the nice thing about this. It comes with everything you need. Right? Let's open it up. We've got a packet of coffee. Very nice. Oh, we have some brown sugar. And they even give us some cream. So we've got everything we need to make us a cup of coffee. So let me grab a mug. We've got our mug here. This is an organization I used to run 20 years ago. Non-profit cultural institution. The brown sugar is a nice touch, says Naomi. It is. Even these guys are fancy. But I'm sure we're going to be finding some pretty instant-ish kind of coffee. I don't know if it's freeze-dried or not, but it's kind of, it feels very light. Let's see what the, let's see how much coffee's in here. Whoa, can't be too much. 1.4 grams with the package. So let's try putting them here. Let's tear this out. We're going to see if we can get it to settle so we can get as much of the coffee out. It's pretty vacuum, or at least, I don't know if it's vacuum, but it's definitely like tight in there. So we can tear it open. Peter says, use a smaller cup. I should. This is the smallest. Well, this is not really the smallest, but should we use a small cup? You're right. Let's get that small cup out of here. Tear this. So 1.1 grams of coffee, of freeze-dried. It's freeze-dried. Freeze-dried instant, look at it's kind of flaky. It has been sitting there for untold number of years. I don't know how many years, but it's been a long time. We were talking the other day about freshness windows. This is way past that window, I'm sure. But whatever coffee it is, it does have a strong character because as I was folding it into the cup, I could smell a little bit of the wafting past my nose. Smells like rough, brutal commercial coffee. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. Okay, so 1.1 grams. I don't know. Any ideas on how much we should put there? Anton says, put a single shot basket. I don't think we need to worry about baskets because if it's freeze dried, it'll just totally dissolve, right? This is like the Turkish size coffee. Oh yeah, we should have probably got the Turkish size coffee. Nah, we'll just continue. We're here. We're gonna go a little bit. Ken says it just says coffee in the pouch. It's just like, to business. This is coffee. That's all you need. You don't need to worry about anything else. All right. Peter says instant coffee has no grounds, so we're good. Excellent. So let us pour. So we got 1.1 grams. Let's do this. Oh, I should have. You know what I should have done? I should have used the brew assist. Darn it. Okay, we're gonna do that. Let's see if the fellow will do us some justice, right? Brew assist. Tear this out. 1.1 grams, 15 grams of water. All right. Here we go now. Here we go. Turn this on. I don't know why we're timing it, but we put the half of the water. Oh, a little bit heavy. Okay, so let's see. Man, the aroma is, good Lord. Wow. I'm pretty horrified to drink it. Like the smell that's hitting my nose at this distance is so pungent, so offensive, so rude that I'm actually afraid to drink it. Like, oh my God. Wow. That is probably some of the worst coffee on offer. Now, I'm sure that the concentration, even though it says, it's not brewed coffee necessarily. So I'm sure that it feels like the concentration is way high. And I'm trying to make sure that all of it's not dissolved. See, but it's not dissolved. See, there's a little bit right there. You can't really see, but there's a little bit not dissolved. Oh my gosh, man. Peter just said drink it. I think Peter tunes in just because he hates me. I'm gonna add a little bit more because this is it's just too much. Gosh, that is just. Nobody says that's a tease of an amount. I mean, like this is actually supposed to be like at a you're in your room, right? So I'm sure that this is designed to be this much coffee rather than this concentrate. But let's try the Ducky Mouse. Oh, man. I don't even know if I would describe this as coffee. Like that is. Oh, that is genuinely wretched. I mean, not just foul, not difficult, but wretched. Like, I remember when I was learning about coffee in 2007, I was at the East African Fine Coffee Conference in Addis Ababa, and I'm hanging out. Like I said before, I'm young in the business. I'm arrogant. I learned enough to be arrogant. And I'm hanging out with this Dutch coffee trader, and he's smoking cigars. And he's like, and I'm pontificating. Like I said, when you learn a little bit, when you learn a modicum of knowledge in any craft, you become very pompous and pretentious about it, and like you want to pontificate. And I'm pontificating. He's like about coffee and how only specialty coffee should be bought in the world. And he's like, "There's a coffee for everyone." He's very patient. There's a coffee for everyone. And he described that there is the C grade coffee, but then there's coffees below that for other things: government, military, prison. Like this is prison level. This is military and prison. This is rude. This is just not pleasant. This is very, very unpleasant. Like I am horrified to drink more of it. Let us put some more water and see if we bring it to a strength, to a volume that may be close to what you would have in a hotel room. See if that helps. I mean, gosh, it's better. It's more diluted. Oh. Yeah, prison level and jet fuel. Yeah, oh, gosh. Naomi says, I don't think I've ever seen it. Actually, I do spit. Most of the time when we're tasting coffee, I do. I don't necessarily do it on the show because we don't drink them. But if we're cupping, I'm always spitting. But this is like, oof, my gosh. Yeah, like I don't even want to keep it enough. Okay, we're going to add the sugar. We're going to add the brown sugar. Let's see what kind of brown sugar we have. And, of course, it's years old now, so it's all like hard. Add, oh yeah, just like regular turbinado style sugar. Just gonna add, we'll add a little bit just to take off the roughness, maybe. Let's see. And I know people drink this coffee daily, but wow, man, this is really shocking, like shocking coffee. So that helped. That helped. That has removed a lot of the ugliness of the coffee and made it a little more palatable. And I only use it very little. There's still a lot of sugar in this packet. Like I didn't want to go overboard. I just want to take the edge off, and it just took the edge off, which is all right. So, but it's still not pleasurable. Let's add the cream. We're gonna add some cream and see. No, he says add all the sugar. No. Goodness, that's craziness. That's crazy talk now. That's not coffee. That's black. Oh man, what's that show? Black. There's that show Black Mirror. It's like this is the black mirror. This is the kind of coffee you have in Black Mirror. Okay, let's look at this creamer, non-dairy artificial creamer. That's not enough, is it? Okay. Thin Lizzie. I don't even know if that looks better. Does that look better? Oh, I think that made it worse. Like that smell is weird now. It makes me wonder, like, we think of cream as being a dairy product or maybe a non-dairy product, but something resembling dairy. But like, I'm horrified now. Like, I'm actually kind of concerned. Like, is this even a consumable product for humans? Mm. Well, the cream was a turn for the worse. So the coffee was foul, rude, harsh, bitter, not being bitter, but just horrific. And then the sugar softened it. The cream, whatever this is, has returned. So let's say we're going down the road of like horror. The sweetener kind of veered us off a little bit towards Pleasantville. This has given us a hard correction back to horror. It's really, oh my God. And I didn't even put much of it here. Oh my gosh. That is really. Ooh. Naomi says that's probably how they're drinking it. Like, this is the thing. Like, yes, I would imagine that. Thank God. I mean, this is why we should always be very thankful for what we have in the world, right? That we have the ability to drink very pleasant coffees. Like, there are people in the world who have no choice but to buy this kind of coffee. And this is what they know. Oh my gosh. Like, that is really, so we talk about C coffee, right? It's commodity grade coffee, the C market. We talk about specialty. And then we talk about the subgrades. This is way down to the subgrades. Like, I wouldn't even, I'm so inexperienced with coffee of this grade that I wouldn't not even know how to grade it. Like, I would have to go to my friends who, like, at the UCDA, the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, at their cupping labs, and I would have to, in Lugogo, and I had to be like, hey, can you walk this through with me to tell me how you grade this? Because I have no idea. All I know is that it is extremely brutal, foul. That's what comes to mind. But I'm also tempered by the fact that I spend most of my time, or pretty much all of my time, in beautiful coffee. So even like, Folgers is like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. But this is what, like, truly remarkable in the fact that it is so shockingly, like, difficult. Ken says, geez, it just keeps getting worse. Yeah, I mean, look at this thing. This thing looks terrible. Like, that is an elixir that is just like, oh my, horror of horrors. Horror of horrors. Like, there's part of me that thinks I should just use this now, this extra pack, and just be done with it. Or that the other part of me was like, I should keep this for reference. And I think I will do that. We'll keep this for reference for another day when I need to demonstrate to someone what truly difficult coffee is like. So I'm going to do. Put that aside. Yeah, we says Folgers is sounding good about it. Yeah, Folgers is a step above this, no doubt, no doubt. Like, Folgers is rough. Folgers is bad. This is like notably worse, notably worse. The power plant is with us. This is where we will be in 50 years. We might very well be here there in 50 years. Actually, in 50 years, if according to the scientists that I've talked to, the food chemists that I've talked to that work for the McCormick Corporation, they say that, that 50 years from now, climate change will have changed the way we produce sustainable food in the world. That a lot of they're predicting that a lot of the current arable land being used for spice production will necessarily have to go away or have to give way to sustenance production. So the way that we eat foods in 50 years is supposedly going to be very different than today. Marcus says, we'll try that extra pack in another 2 years. Good idea. I like that. Power Plant says the coffee as a farm, am I reading this correctly? Farm product is already on the decline. True. It is essentially a monoculture product that is extremely susceptible to blight. I mean, that's one thing we're fighting. And actually, even like, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the current, Cavendish? Is it Cavendish? I can't remember the name, if that's correct. Maybe that was the previous one. The current banana that we're eating in the world is also dying out. And it's not the banana that our previous generations ate. So they're trying to find a new banana to replace the banana that's dying. Anton says, keep it to shock someone. Maybe prank someone like James or Tim. Those guys actually like me. I would like to keep that. I'll save it for friends that really like this kind of stuff. They're like, oh, I love this coffee. Make them a coffee and swap. That would be funny. That would be funny to like, those like candid camera kind of things, like you're punking someone. That would be interesting. Naomi says, I can make Folgers work for me when I'm desperate. Yeah. I mean, if you add enough cream and sugar, I think it'll work. Look at this one. Like, don't add this cream. This cream is like notably like, my God, it's like chemicals. Let's taste it. How does it taste raw? Good Lord, I gotta throw that away. Well, don't do that at home. Anton says, I don't know in Folgers. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. How is that, since you're in Germany, Anton, how is the Chibo coffee? I see that when I'm in Nuremberg, right? And I'm in the center square, Nuremberg, the main square for the Christmas market. I noticed there's a Chibo. I noticed the Chibo because, and I don't know if that's pronounced right, but if those are not familiar, Chibo is this kind of like, it's a store that I noticed because the Chibo, I think, if I remember correctly, it has a bean in the logo, but it's also a smoke shop. So you can buy cigarettes. And I noticed it because I like cigars. And as I'm in Nuremberg and it's cold, I'm like, ooh, is that a cigar shop? Let me go check it out. So, but I know they sell coffee. Anton says Chibo is bad. Oh, okay. That's what I figured. Their capsules are okay, I guess, but also not great. Gotcha. Peter says the Grand Michel banana got what? Oh, that's the one that got that. So it's Cavendish now and Grand Michel in the past. Okay. Do you know any idea on what they're planning for the next banana? They say it's going to be in the next 10 years. From what I've heard, that the banana will be, our current banana will be gone. So I've been eating a lot of bananas lately. I'm like, I better remember the. Charles says that also in the Army, I added cocoa beverage. That probably helped it out a lot, I tell you. Naomi says, chuck it already. Let's pivot to some good coffee. We should pivot to some good coffee. Let's pivot to some good coffee. All right, let's pivot to some espresso. Because that would be maybe a little bit better because that was pretty brutal. We'll do a little espresso for good measure today. Let me get rid of this cream. Gosh, that was god awful. All right, so how about just a straight up espresso? That's kind of nice, right? I think that might be fun. All right, let's see. Anything else interesting? I'm just seeing what bottles are here. It might be some kind of interesting thing to mix. Yeah, since we're talking, about. Oh, yes, perfect. So, this is a bottle that I've actually never opened. I picked this up quite a few years ago. When you're in Mexico, and I think I got this when I was in Mexico City, you can go to these stores. Basically, they're called OXXO. They're kind of like 7-Elevens. And these stores will sell like these little bottles of liqueur, of alcohol. And this one is called Torayan. And as you can see, it's probably not really meant to be for the highest end of the market because it's in this PET plastic bottle. But it's from Destilados de Caña, so it's made from sugar cane. So basically, it's kind of a rum type of distillate. And what does it say here? It says, el abuso en el consumo de este producto es nocivo para la salud. So the abuse of the consuming of this does basically don't if you abuse the consumption of this product, you will have bad health. Beber en moderación. So con moderación, drink with moderation. And what's this? Prohibida su venta a menores de. Oh, so you cannot, prohibited for sale to under 18. So we're going to open this. We're going to try this out a little bit. Rusty says you should try this for tonight's cigar show. Maybe we will do that. Maybe we will do that. And then Peter says if these get wiped out, we will do. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be doomed. As a correlation, I think I mentioned this last week. I went to my Sawyer, my sawmill, local sawmill, and I bought that. Oh yeah, we talked about this last week. This bee stuff. We had this last week, right? I'm still kind of in shock that my sawmill guy is a bee YouTuber. It's like, how did that even happen? All right, so we're gonna try a little bit of tipple with this. So let's get our espresso together. We're gonna go over here and get everything going. We're just gonna make espresso, right? We're gonna make espresso. Maybe we're going to make like a little Americano kind of thing. Let's do a test run and see what comes. So as you can see here, we're not having that static. I don't really have static issues here very often like that one. Those couple days were really kind of surprising and unique. But as you can see, this mounted well here, but a little bit of a divot down here. Looks like there could be not really. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sweep around to fill that in, come back this way to help cover that. Maybe come back this way to push more. Back, back, back. Every time is a little bit different, right? I feel like this is too much. So I'm going to knock some of that off. I think I took too much off now, but we're going to go with it. And then again, as always, we're going to feel around the edges. And then now go to tapping with a twist. Flick that off, make sure it's nice and clean. Flush one more time, and here we go. Put the spouts back on. Now, I think, like I said, look at the way it's coming out. It's coming out pretty fast, pretty loose. Like I said, I think I swept off too much, and I think that's what happened. We're a little bit too low in volume because it came out really kind of fast. And I can kind of tell because it kind of shot out a little bit wider. And as you can see, I had to readjust the cup because it was sliding down the side of the cup there. And I don't think the quality of the crema is as nice as it could have been. So let's go back here and have a looking at it. Anton says, don't need a lawyer if you have a Sawyer. No doubt, no doubt. We can run the lawyers through the Sawyer. There we are. They're not bad looking, but let's see, of course, how it tastes at the end is the only thing that matters. Yeah, a bit thin, a bit astringent. Time for another one. Plus, there could be, the coffee still from last time that's inside the burrs. That's always going to be a potential issue. Peter says, my beekeeper mentor once told, I didn't know you kept bees. once told me when I was starting out, first put a bee on your hand and get stung. If you die this hobby, I guess that's practical advice for beekeeping. So our puck looks pretty good. It looks, yeah, see, I can feel it now. There's a little bit soft. A little bit soft because the quantity is less than I would have liked. And that came out fairly easily, but it is pretty clean, so that's good things. We stopped it at the right moment, just that we're not, just wasn't enough coffee. Just wasn't enough coffee. Now, of course, for those of you who are always weighing your shots, you won't have this issue necessarily because, well, you're weighing your shots. And so you always have a predetermined and proper amount of coffee. Whereas in my swashbuckling ways, sometimes you come up a little bit short. Okay, so this time, lower here, very high here. So I'm going to come this way now and just come across. Always sweeping around. I always try to sweep, but I can't. I always want to sweep around so I don't like lose it over this way. But I can only come so far before I start to get inhibited by this. So now, by this thing, there's still this spot here that I want to cover. So I want to come back this way now, push it in, push it there, push it back. Just try to work that in. And I think that's good. I think we're going to leave that. We're not going to swipe anything off. Again, go back to checking the level. Then a tamp and a twist. We still have some, coffee left, residual coffee there. So wipe that off, wipe. And I'm always wiping. If I wipe the rim, and I don't like to do this, right? Because I feel that when you do this, you have the chance of slipping off and then gouging your puck. I like to use kind of the palm and the fingers together, but I always keep it concave or convex or whatever, domed. I keep it domed, slightly domed. Not as much as this. This is very dramatic, but just a little bit. Then I can then rub it on here without actually damaging the puck and the surface. And that's what I want to avoid doing. So let's flush one more time. And now we brew. So better, so slower stream coming out, getting nice and big. Maybe a little bit too less. Maybe there could be a little bit more coffee in there. Okay. Now we got a little bit of that blonding starting to form. So that tells us we're done in this tulip-shaped cup. And look, it looks like a little swan kind of in there. Can you see that? Let's have a look here. A little bit of a swan-like in the crema. Very nice, very nice. But the color overall, very nice. It looks looking good, pleasant. Now let's have a taste and see what it's like. All right, that's much better. Much more like what we're looking for. One thing we're going to do next week is I'm working on this. I had this idea, and I ran a small batch to play with to see if it, and just to test it out to see if it's going to work. I had this idea of like lower caffeine espresso. Like, can we reduce the amount of caffeine in the espresso by using decaf coffees in our blend? But not fully reduced, not full decaf, but just a little bit reduced. Would that be something worth exploring? So that's something we're going to explore a little bit next week, when the coffee that I roasted the other day is finally past its degassing stage. So probably towards the end of the week, we'll do that. All right, very good. I got to go and get some. I think we're going to go to a lumber mill today and look at some lumber. So we'll save this for later. So if you're not busy tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, we'll be doing the coffee Q&A. We'll be doing the coffee and cigars live stream. And so if you have time, come join us on the Ono live channel. It's not on this channel, it's on the other channel. And so we hang out, we talk coffee, we talk cigars, and just kind of chill for a couple hours. So if you have time, you're interested, come join us there. If not, be back again tomorrow with another episode of the Coffee Q&A. So hope you have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening wherever you are in the world, and catch you next time.